Hey guys, we are moving forward here. We are talking about three stats that we use to measure the economy. There's more than three, but these are the three big main ones that you kind of start with. We talked GDP back on Friday. Today we're talking unemployment. Okay, and remember each of these stats. The intention is we're trying to get a look into the health of the economy. Right? Are people earning money? Are people spending money? Um, is it a good time to start a business? Those types of things. So anyway, we're moving to unemployment today. Figuring out unemployment is simple once you know what you're looking for. Okay, and the first thing to remember is that not everybody is going to be considered part of the formula. Okay, so we've got people that have jobs; those are obvious; those are employed people. We've got unemployed people that looking at the definition here. They've got to actively be looking for a job. They've got to have applications in. Okay, and then we've got people not in the labor force. This includes a bunch of people. Okay, retired people not looking for a job, stay-at-home parents, sometimes students, but especially young students, right? Children. Um, all those groups of people are not considered part of the labor force. Okay, so as we kind of go through here, you'll want to take note on who's part of the labor force, who's not, simply to help you with the assignment that we eventually get to. Alrighty. So the way that we figure this out is we take the number of people that are unemployed and we divide it by the labor force. And then we multiply that number by 100, and that gets us our unemployment rate. Okay. So, again, the big thing to understand is that not everybody is part of the equation. Okay. So, there's some people that are not considered. So, if you look at this graph here, like you've got people that are in school not looking for a job, you've got people that are retired not looking for a job, homemakers, it's a stay at home mom or dad, right? Not looking for a job. Sometimes you're injured or sick and can't look for a job either. So again, remember to keep those people out. All right. And then also add the employed to the unemployed for the labor force. So the labor force equals employed people plus unemployed people. Okay. People mess that up sometimes. So, um, some people will ask, just to kind of get into a little bit more depth here, some people will ask, um, is a teacher unemployed in the summer? Well, it depends. A teacher has to be looking for a job, right? If I am someone that mows lawns, right? Am I unemployed in the wintertime? Well, it depends. Am I looking for a job? And so that actively looking for work is the biggest key. All right. Um, quick practice problem for you here, and I've already got the numbers figured out. Okay. Delete this one here so it doesn't confuse you. Okay. Is we've got a country that has a population of 50,000. 35,000 are considered part of the country's labor force. 4,000 people are actively looking for work. Okay. So the first question I'll ask you, just because we're going to go through this quick, is how many people are employed? Think about that for a second. How many people have jobs? 31,000. Okay. So if we were to give you the question differently, we got 4,000 plus 31,000 is the labor force. If you take those numbers, you can see up here at the top, 4,000 divided by 35,000 times 100 equals 11.4% in that case. Now, let's say that in this particular country, okay, same number of people, alrighty, that some people, 1,000 people give up looking for a job, okay? And this is one of the inaccuracies with the statistic. But they completely give up. They say, forget this. I can't find a job. I give up. Maybe they go be a criminal. I don't know. Whatever the case might be. Okay. Well, that changes our numbers, right? So up here we had 4,000 divided by 35,000. Now 1,000 people quit looking for jobs, so they're not unemployed anymore. So we only have 3,000 unemployed. We also lost 1,000 out of the labor force. However, look what happens to our unemployment rate. It actually goes down. Okay. Discouraged workers, or what those people are referred to, are one of the inaccuracies of unemployment. And especially back in 2009 and 2010, our economy was probably worse off than what our percentages said. It was about 10% for a short period of time. And then some of those people gave up looking for work, and the number actually went down for a short period of time. The unemployment rate went down. Simply because of the statistics and how they're found. So it's not a perfect indicator of how our economy is doing. If we do the opposite, Sorry, I don't have the opposite, so don't worry about that. Okay, but if you were to say, hey, listen, now we think the economy is really good, maybe I'm going to join the economy instead. I'm going to get into it. Then the opposite happens. Our unemployment rate actually goes up. Okay, and so if you were to do that math, you would see that. So if you were to do that math, if the people joined the economy, so again, like you guys are going to join the labor force here eventually. Some of you guys sooner rather than later. Some of you guys are already in, right? And if you do that sooner, or I'm sorry, if you join it and don't find a job right away, that makes our unemployment rate go up a little bit faster. And so the stat's not perfect. Understand what you're seeing. It is pretty reliable though to understand, kind of what's been going on, especially if we see the unemployment rate increasing or decreasing. Okay. Now, what causes unemployment? Well, for the most part, people stop buying stuff, and so I mean, you just look at things right now, right? With the coronavirus, people are first of all not making any money, right? And they're also maybe scared to go out of their house, and being told not to go out of their house, being told to only buy necessities, so that lowers our demand for stuff. Well, if my business isn't selling things, I don't need you to work for me, right? If I can only sell carry out food, I don't need someone to wait tables for me. And so that is a lower demand for products. Obviously those people get laid off, those people lose their jobs, and we have our unemployment rate obviously increase. Okay, so anyway, there's some other things that may cause it. Rising costs of labor. If there's some talk about minimum wage being raised, and there's some talk like, okay, if we raise minimum wage, can companies still afford to hire workers? Well, think about what McDonald's has done, right? They built those self ordering stations, right? They've gotten rid of cashiers. Some of that may be because of the fear of having to hire people for more money because of the minimum wage being raised, if that were the case to happen. Some of it might just be because technology is a little bit more reliable, but some of those things might cause some unemployment as well. All right. So some things that make it not perfect. We mentioned the discouraged workers. Another statistic is that workers to be considered employed only have to work for 1 hour a week. Okay. So if let's say I worked for 40 hours a week, and then business slows down and the next week I only got 20 hours of work. Well, I'm not unemployed, but I'm definitely not in the same situation off as I was before. This is another thing that was probably not as big of, um, as not as easy to notice back in 2009 and 2010. People were losing hours just as often, if not more, than people losing their jobs. And so people still keep their jobs, but they're not making as much money. That's a little bit of a tough indicator. Illegal and informal jobs, people can earn money. Again, if I am performing illegal actions and the government asks me if I'm employed and I say no, then obviously I'm going to be considered unemployed, but I could still be earning an income. Also, people that don't pay taxes, you guys might be a little bit considered. If you like mow lawns, let's say, and maybe you mow like 3 lawns a week or something, maybe make 60, 70, $80 a week, not tons of money. Well, you're going to be considered if they were to ask you, either not in the labor force, unemployed, depending on if you say you're looking for a job, right? So again, just kind of hard to keep track of, but again, not necessarily a huge problem. Um, at the end of the day, when unemployment's bad because people are unable to buy stuff, people are not paying taxes, and if the government's going to pay people to be unemployed, the government's going to go into worse debt. And so one of the things right now is the trade-off of the government right now saying, hey, we're giving all these people these stimulus checks, and that's obviously very noble, and that can be considered a very good thing. But on the trade-off side of things is, if you say, well, why don't they give people more money? Why don't they just keep doing it? Well, the government goes more into debt, and if the government goes too far into debt, that could cause some very serious problems. If you wanted to look up what's happened to Greece and some of the things that they're dealing with over there. So it's kind of a double negative when people collect a bunch of unemployment, when a bunch of people collect unemployment because they're not paying taxes, putting money into the government, right? And at the same time, they're taking it out. All right, healthy rate of unemployment somewhere between 4 and 6% is usually pretty common in the United States. I think it was down to like 3.5% right before this coronavirus stuff happened, maybe a little bit before that. I've heard stats that it's going to be up to about 10% here in the very very near future. So we'll kind of see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting uh, thing to look at with statistics here over the course of the next few months. I think with how the economy bounces back and if we can get through this crisis that we're going through. Just some things. You can kind of see Elkhart's kind of a unique example because remember we produce luxury goods, right? And luxury goods are what people are going to stop buying first. And so I did some stats. I don't have it updated to current date. That's on my other my PowerPoint stuff. This is the Google slide stuff. It's a little bit older, but that's okay. It proves the point. So notice that in 2007, Elkhart's unemployment rate was 4.3, right? Things were going good. Now, when things started going bad, 18 months later, things got really bad. You can see 20.2%. You can also see, look at, how many people left the labor force, right? And so some people might have moved away. Some people might have just said, I'll forget it. But look how many jobs we lost. We lost, 24,000 jobs in that span of time of 18 months or so. Obviously, economic an extremely harsh economic situation. Up to 2017, we were at about 3%. That held pretty steady through the course of 2019 through 2020. Just some stats you don't have to memorize. I like pointing this out because of how drastic of a situation things were back in 2009. All right. One thing that the people that are not included, maybe you can use this with your worksheet. I'll show you here in a second. That's where we're at. That's all I have for you today. Make sure you check the assignment, okay? It's attached in your email. Now, this assignment's gonna carry us through 2 days this week, okay? So there'll be one day that you don't necessarily have to turn something in, which is this day, all right? And then after we talk about inflation, you will have to turn something in, okay? So anyway, do the unemployment rate side things first, okay, which is up here at the top. This will be attached with you. Enjoy your week. It's early here on Sunday for me. I got this done in the morning so I can enjoy the weather today. Hopefully, you got a chance to do the same once by the time you check this stuff out. Okay, stay safe. Keep grinding it out. Keep getting your work turned in, taking care of business, and we will be in touch.